Single dad slapped by a female manager in his own hotel. 9 minutes later, he fired the entire staff. The slap echoed through the marble lobby louder than any alarm, louder than the clinking glasses at the breakfast bar, louder than the quiet sob a little girl was holding back near the elevator. In one sudden, humiliating moment, a tired single father standing in worn shoes was struck across the face by a woman who believed he was nothing more than a nobody who had crossed his limits. What no one in that hotel realized was that those 9 minutes after the slap would become the longest, most unforgettable 9 minutes of their professional lives. If stories about kindness, second chances, and hidden strength move you even a little, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, a single story can change how we see people forever. That morning had begun like most mornings in Daniel Carter's life, heavy and rushed, full of small sacrifices no one noticed. He had woken before dawn in a modest apartment on the edge of the city, gently lifting his 6-year-old daughter Emma from her bed when she refused to wake up for school. Her hair was messy, her cheeks pale, and her eyes carried a quiet sadness she tried to hide every day since her mother passed away 2 years earlier. Daniel packed her lunch, tied her shoes, and reminded her for the 100th time that he would be back before dinner, even though work often made that promise hard to keep. Everything he did revolved around Emma now, every breath measured by her needs and her fragile smile. After dropping Emma at school, Daniel drove straight to the hotel downtown, a grand glass and stone building that shimmered in the early light. To most people, it was a luxury hotel with chandeliers, uniformed staff, and polished floors. To Daniel, it was something else entirely. It was the last living dream he shared with his late wife, the business they built together from nothing, the place where every brick carried a memory of struggle, hope, and love. Yet almost no one there recognized him anymore. Since stepping back from daily operations after his wife's death, Daniel had chosen to observe quietly, letting managers run things while he focused on being a father first. That morning, Daniel walked into the lobby dressed simply, exhausted from another sleepless night by Emma's bedside after she had a fever. His shoulders were slumped, his face unshaven, and his eyes carried the weight of years of grief and responsibility. To anyone watching, he looked like just another guest who didn't quite belong among the expensive suits and polished smiles. He approached the front desk to ask about a complaint he had received through an anonymous feedback channel, one that mentioned rude behavior and neglect toward families with children. The female manager on duty noticed him immediately, but not with concern or respect. Her gaze swept over him with judgment, irritation building before he even spoke. She had built her authority on sharp words and fear, and she had little patience for anyone she believed beneath her. When Daniel calmly tried to explain why he was there and asked to speak privately about staff behavior, she interpreted his tone as disrespect. Her voice rose, drawing attention, and her posture stiffened as if she were defending her territory. What happened next stunned everyone nearby. In a moment of unchecked arrogance and rage, she raised her hand and slapped Daniel across the face, accusing him of harassment and trying to intimidate her. The sound cut through the lobby like glass shattering. Guests froze mid-step. Staff members turned away, pretending not to see. Near the elevators, Emma, who had been brought along because Daniel couldn't leave her alone that morning, watched with wide, terrified eyes as her father staggered slightly but did not fall. Daniel did not shout. He did not raise his hand or his voice. He simply stood there, absorbing not just the pain of the slap but the deeper pain of humiliation in front of his child. He bent down, gently wiped Emma's tears with his thumb, and asked her to wait by the couch. His calm frightened the staff more than anger ever could. He looked around the lobby, noticing how quickly eyes dropped, how no one stepped forward, how silence became complicity. He checked his watch. 9 minutes. In those 9 minutes, Daniel walked slowly to a quiet corner of the lobby and made a series of phone calls. Each call was brief, controlled, and heavy with meaning. Years ago, he had promised himself he would never run his business through fear or ego, yet what he had just witnessed told him the hotel had become exactly that. His mind replayed the anonymous complaints, the recent drop in family bookings, the tension he had sensed but chosen to ignore. The slap was not the problem. It was the symptom. As the minutes passed, the manager paced, convinced she had asserted dominance, whispering to staff about removing the troublemaker. Some employees nodded nervously, others looked uneasy, knowing deep down that something was terribly wrong. Emma sat quietly, clutching her backpack, watching adults fail the most basic test of humanity. When the 9th minute ended, the atmosphere shifted. The hotel doors opened again, this time not with the casual ease of guests but with purpose. Senior board members, legal advisors, and the head of security entered the lobby together, their expressions serious and focused. Confusion rippled through the staff as they recognized faces usually reserved for boardrooms, not breakfast service. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but steady, finally introducing himself not with anger, but with truth. He revealed who he was, what the hotel meant to him, and why he had allowed things to operate as they were. The color drained from faces. The female manager's confidence crumbled into disbelief. Staff members realized in waves that the man they ignored, mocked, and allowed to be assaulted was the owner. What followed was not a dramatic explosion, but something far more powerful. Daniel spoke about respect, about the responsibility of working in a place built on hospitality, and about how cruelty grows when good people stay silent. He addressed not only the manager who slapped him, but every employee who looked away, who accepted a toxic culture because it felt safer than standing up. Then came the decision that would echo through the building long after that day. Daniel terminated the entire on-duty staff, from management to front desk supervisors, effective immediately. Not out of revenge, but out of necessity. He made it clear that a business could recover from financial loss but not from moral decay. The hotel would close for the day. A full internal review would follow. Those who wished to return would have to reapply under a new system built on empathy, accountability, and respect. The lobby fell silent again, but this time it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of realization. In the days that followed, news spread quickly. Some criticized Daniel for being too harsh, others praised his courage. What few people saw was the quiet moment later that night when Daniel sat on Emma's bed, apologizing for what she had witnessed, promising her that being kind did not mean being weak. Emma hugged him tightly, telling him she was proud. In that moment, every difficult choice felt worth it. The hotel reopened weeks later, transformed not just in staff, but in spirit. New employees were trained not only in service, but in compassion. Families were welcomed warmly. Complaints dropped. Bookings rose. More importantly, people felt safe and valued again. Daniel returned to a more active role, not because he loved power, but because he understood now that leadership meant presence. The female manager faced legal consequences and professional accountability, a painful but necessary lesson in humility. Some former staff reached out later, admitting they wished they had spoken up. Daniel listened to them too, because growth often begins with regret. Years later, Emma would tell this story not as the day her father was slapped, but as the day she learned what real strength looked like. A man who did not strike back. A man who protected his values. A man who chose to rebuild rather than destroy. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who believes in fairness, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our humanity. Your support helps these messages reach people who need them most. And before this video ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that describes what this story made you feel. Sometimes, those small words mean more than we realize. Because in a world where power is often loud and cruel, the quiet courage of doing what is right can change everything.